Will you do that?
I would just get
Good evening, everyone. Welcome you to our regular board meeting for June 4th, 2020. Ms. Pavlik, please, I'm sorry, Ms. Boynton, would you please read, please?
Yes. Visitors are always welcome at our board meetings. If you wish to address the board, please complete the form provided upon arrival at the meeting and give it to the treasurer. Oral presentations are limited to 3 minutes each. So that the meeting may proceed uninterrupted, please silence all electronic devices. Tonight's meeting is a virtual meeting, internet live stream, http://4.bedfordschools.org or Spectrum Cable TV channel 1025.
Thank you. Ms. Pavlik, please call the roll.
Mr. Stevens,
Here.
Mrs. Patterson,
Present.
Mr. Tench.
Here.
Mr. Kennedy.
Here.
Mrs. Boynton.
Here.
Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, we're going to, everyone have the agenda. And once again, welcome to our audience that's on the virtual, that's listening with us this evening. So once again, welcome. At this time, we're going to go to item number 2, where it's agenda item 2, which is 2.01, board's presentation and communication with introductions to our principal. Dr. Selico.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Good evening, board.
Evening.
Thank you for that. And I'd like to say hello and thank people who are tuning in and listening this evening. We do have 3 visitors with us this evening, one of which is our new principal, as Mr. Stevens has stated. Jatina Threet will be our principal at Columbus Elementary. And the reason she's here this evening is because in light of all of what's been happening, we were able to see her virtually, but hadn't had a face-to-face meeting with her. So we invited her this evening and thought, board, you can get a chance to say hello and give her a chance to say any words that she would like to as well. So with that, Ms. Reed.
Thank you so much for having me again. I know we all spoke. I was over the phone, so I really didn't get a chance to see all of your faces. So I just want to thank you for allowing me the time to come and actually meet you face to face. I'm excited to be going to Columbus Intermediate School. We have a lot of work that needs to be done, and so I'm eager to get started on that, eager to meet students, parents, and staff there. So I'm very excited, and thank you so much.
Would you like to introduce?
Oh, I'm sorry. With me today is my daughter, Lauren Threet. She is a sophomore at Bowling Green State University. And my husband, Thomas Threet, is with me today. And then I also have a 26-year-old son. He had to work. He couldn't get off. So, but he is with us in spirit. So thank you so much.
Thank you for coming in again, so that we have this opportunity to see in person and meet you once again. Thank you, family, for joining her as well. I know she will be here with another different family, but you're the immediate family, and we want to welcome you as well into the Bearcat family. And thank you for being here as well. Anything board members you would like to say if you haven't said so already when you met with her before?
No, welcome. Welcome. Best of luck. We're here to support you. Go BG.
I'd like to welcome you to Bedford as well. This is probably one of the toughest times to start being a principal in light of all that's going on, and I'm sure you'll be able to do the job and do it well. And I'm glad you're part of the family as well, and your family is welcome to Bedford again.
Yeah. And I should have apologized. I probably should have said two things. One, which is she has experience as a principal, but you're right, Mr. Tench, this is a very difficult time for any administrator. And this is more of a welcome home because she was a teacher here as well. So just to jog your memories, I know it's been a long time
Right.
since we introduced her.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Welcome back.
Right.
Ditto. We're so glad to have you back.
That's right, be back. That's right, come back. All right. Okay, well, you're welcome to stay, but you know, you can leave as well. So you're welcome to do that.
She said bye.
Should have
Thank you for coming.
Well, you know, they didn't have to wear masks the whole time. They would have stayed a
Stay
little
safe.
longer, right? Right, Thomas? Yeah, right.
Okay.
Okay, nice to meet you. Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, at this time, do we have any audience participation? No? Okay. All right. So we're gonna move right along down to item number 4.01, the consent agenda items. Is there anything that, we had an opportunity to look over the agenda, consent items, and we're going to go on and take a motion for this area. Can I get a motion to approve agenda item 4.01, the consent agenda items?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Kennedy, second by Ms. Patterson. Any questions or comments that's in the consent agenda items? None? Okay, please call the roll.
Mr. Tench?
Aye.
Mrs. Patterson?
Aye.
Mrs. Boynton? Aye. Mr. Stevens?
Aye.
Mr. Kennedy?
Okay, motion passed 5-0. Thank you. Okay, now we have item number 5.01. And board, I wanted to get your approval to approve Bill Parkinson, our new treasurer, to give him some extended days to start his transitioning in, along with being able to do some personnel items that he needs to take care of as well. And he may not use all of the 15 days, but we have up to 15 days, extended days for Mr. Parkinson and the treasurer at his per diem rate. And he will be a part of our retreats as well. So just wanted to get your approval. In order to do that, we need to approve him for doing that. So can I get a motion to approve the 15 extended days for Bill Parkinson, the treasurer, at his per diem rate?
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Tench and second by Mr. Kennedy for approving Mr. Parkinson's 15 days. Any questions or comments?
Have we determined what the per diem rate was yet?
That's going to be figured out with the treasurer, but we will, it's not on here.
Before
But
we vote on it, we should know that.
Is that in his contract,
it
Mr.
is-
Stevens?
it is-
I have not.
It is the days, the actual salary is in his contract.
And Mrs. Patterson, and I have not seen the contract yet that you approved the last board meeting. But generally speaking, in the contract, it does spell out the calculation of the per diem.
Okay.
So, Mr. Stevens, again, I don't,
So my thing is this, if we saw that, and we noticed that it's not in there, we should have probably made sure it was in there. And this shouldn't even come on the agenda. And those things should have been mentioned during those times. And we should not have, this should have been looked into. If there was an issue, we should have addressed it before we put it on the agenda. Everybody saw the agenda? Did you see the agenda, Ms. Did you see the actual agenda, Ms. Pavlik?
I saw the item on the agenda.
Okay, so if there was an issue regarding his per diem rate.
I don't have an issue with it. I'm sure the information we need
Okay,
is in the
I
contract.
get it. I understand.
Yeah, because Monday at our board, you said that it was gonna be checked and we were gonna have know what that was. And that's why I'm addressing it again now. Because at our pre-board, it was not on the agenda and it was questioned. and
Okay, so
it was
even
put
though
there.
we know what his salary is, we have what we have here, is there a reason why we cannot approve his per diem rate, knowing that it's going to be calculated, knowing that it's going to be approved? Is there an issue with it now that even though it's not there, can we still go ahead and approve it?
I'm fine with it. It doesn't change anything. I mean, I understand what Mrs. Patterson is saying, but it doesn't change the fact that it's in his contract.
Right.
And so that
His rate- His
figure
rate
is
is
not
going
going
to
to
be
change.
calculated anyway.
So that rate's not going to change. So I do have one question though.
Sure.
Are these days at his discretion or
It
how's
was
that?
agreed upon,
Okay.
15 days.
But I mean, not to interrupt, but I mean, like say take 2 days for the June retreat, and then they don't
Whatever.
have to all be used before he comes under contract on July
Yes.
1st.
Yes.
They do have to be used before.
Well, however, the dates that Ms. Pavlik and Bill agreed upon, the amount of time that he needs to spend with her.
So they
he's
might
gonna give me
it
the
might
dates.
not be 15 days. It
can
could
be
be up
less.
to, right.
Right, it can
Okay.
be up to, that's exactly what is being said.
Mr. Stevens, may I?
Yes,
Thank you. And as a reminder, his start date is not July 1st, it's July 15th.
Oh, right.
Remember, because he needed to
You're
give
right, I'm
that
sorry.
additional notice. So actually, he has between when you hired him and July 15th to use these 15 days. I think, Mr. Stevens, as you pointed out, a couple of them are going to be at your retreat.
right,
And the rest of them, I've already been talking with Mr. Parkinson about him coming in and working with me so I can show him, kind of lay the land and
Transition.
that. That being said, I suspect July 1 through July 15th, in which I'm not going to be here, you're not going to have a treasurer on site.
Right.
He will probably take advantage of some of those days in that 2-week period.
that's fine.
All right, thank you.
So do we need to table this, or do we need to go ahead and vote on this right now?
I don't think we need to table it. I mean, if it's in the contract, I mean, the calculation's there. I mean, it's not like it's gonna blindside us. But my thing is, this should have been known in board prep.
It was. It was mentioned in
The
board.
calculation wasn't, we
No,
should have
it
had the
wasn't.
calculation in here.
Right. It
All right?
wasn't in
It should have
board
been
prep.
found out at board prep and in here, not waiting till this time right now.
No, at board prep, we did mention, and it was stated that it should be in there on the agenda for tonight.
Correct. But we should have found out at board prep, right then and there.
Right.
So we knew.
We couldn't. Yeah.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve agenda item?
You have a
5.0?
motion in a
I mean,
second.
we got a motion by Mr.
Yes,
Tench and Mr. Kennedy. We had the questions, and please call the roll.
Mrs. Patterson,
No.
Mr. Kennedy,
Aye.
Mr. Tench,
Aye.
Mrs. Boynton,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens.
Aye. Motion passed 4. Thank you. Okay, executive session. Okay, item number 6, the superintendent report. Dr. Selico?
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Board, I have just a couple updates I wanted to provide you with and give you some food for thought, because as we know, we'll be thinking about a lot of things here before the fall. So first off, just a couple general things. I did speak with Sarah Rivera today, who's our summer school principal, if you will, for elementary, and she reported that we have almost 200 students signed up. So that number climbed from the last time I shared, which was about 100, and we're to the point where we might have to start taking a waiting list, but we're going to try to get as many students as we can serve. The problem we're having right now is getting the number of teachers to volunteer. And again, that's 9 to 11 and 4 to 6. So we have 2 opportunities for students. So I'm really pleased with that number. And the other thing I wanted to mention, and you voted on it this evening, which is the handbooks. And the only thing I would say, and I mentioned this in board prep, about the possibility, we waited on it we waited as long as we thought we could in light of what might be happening in the fall. So for example, would we need to put in that handbook about masks, about social distancing? And because we don't know enough yet, I asked you to vote on it this evening, but if there are substantive changes to that, I may bring it back to you again and point out more changes so you are well aware of them. But there might be little tweaks, which is just, kind of cleanup of it. But if anything that changes of matter, I will certainly let you know. So I just want to let you know that that may be forthcoming, just depending on how things play out here in the fall. The other thing I wanted to mention, lastly, actually, is our decisions about back to school. And I know Mrs. Boynton and I had communicated about the day the governor came out and said, kids are going to be back in school in the fall. And that was it, with very little guidance or parameters. And, we were concerned as superintendents in him saying that, because we don't know, that gives really a false sense to parents, and no information to parents, because every school district, because he stated further that it would be a Board of Education local decision. So that means the onus has now technically come to boards of education, but we know how this works, that it's certainly a team decision and recommendations from our team to you, but so much to consider. So one of the things that I wanted to at least get you thinking about, and we have not had a formal conversation with the union yet, we've had informal conversations, and I floated it by you in your updates, is this notion of starting after Labor Day as one option. And I was literally, as I was walking in here, one of my first ring colleagues was texting me asking where we were at with. There's a group of us in this vicinity that have, we're trying to coordinate and see if we all, are going to make that decision together, or, what everybody's boards are thinking. So, the reasons we went back and forth about the reasons why we would do that. The biggest one being it buys us some more time, because as you see, just things keep changing, and it gives us more time to plan, even though we're still planning as we're speaking, but it gives us more time to clean, prepare. We're in the process of, you may have noticed if you go upstairs, you'll see some plexiglass that's already been put up, as barriers for our workers that are exposed. So there's a lot of things that have to happen. We were set to begin on August 24th. So just to give you an idea, that would be pushed back a week for us. It's not, sometimes we start earlier in August. This time we were actually starting pretty late. So Labor Day would put us back a week. It would get us starting. The students' first day would be on the 7th, September 7th. And then their last day would be June 20th or 21st. I think it's the 20th. So it's a later summer. It pushes us back. And so in my mind, there's pros and cons. Our students have been out long enough, and they were pushing it back a week. But the other benefit is that maybe we'll know more and we can plan better. And, even though I think, we will be prepared, it just does give us a little more time. So first ring districts, just so you all know, are discussing that and what they want to do. So I plan on talking with the union probably a little more seriously about this topic, see where they stand. Our contract language, I did pull it. Essentially, it was changed in our last bargaining rounds. And it does give, typically, if we were in a normal situation, there is a team of administrators and teachers union that come together and propose some ideas to the superintendent. At the end of the day, the superintendent gets to make that decision. So that changed a little bit from the past. So I think this is something we probably could do contractually, but as you all know how I operate, I would like the input of our unions. So if that's something that the board, I would just like to float that by you, let it sink in a little bit, see how you feel, and certainly share your thoughts with me as I talk with them as well. But we'll know more as we start to dig in a little bit further. So I wanted to plant that seed. And just a couple other things I shared with you. It was a lot of paper, but I wanted you to have it, and not necessarily you have to scroll down in the survey. It's not all that helpful, but I provided you with a parent survey, the results of a parent survey and a student survey. And those were in response to basically how we did with online learning. What would you like to see better? What would you like to see for the fall? And then we also asked parents, you'll see percentages that don't add up to 100, and there's a reason why. They got to choose options that they were comfortable with. So they might have said, I'm comfortable with a full return or a blended. So you might see higher percentages. So we disaggregated that for you. You'll see the pie charts that are there. And then the lengthy part from the parents, and so appreciated, over 1,000 responses. So that was excellent. But there's a lot of information for you. And I thought it was important as we head down this, road, that as they're putting it back on us, that you can hear from our parents. And probably not things you're too surprised by. There was clearly a concern for special needs students and parents, and the struggles and the challenges that posed for parents and children. And then just, of course, the concern for health, on the one end, and then, the need for parents are very concerned about childcare, which I'm not surprised at all. I totally understand that. So there's a lot to talk about blended learning and remote learning. And so I just wanted you to have all of that information as we move ahead. So it's a lot to read through, but I felt you should have it. And then there is also, lastly, there's a House bill out there. I don't know if it's a House bill or Senate bill, probably House, that was introduced, and I don't know the number, but they're talking about protections for cities, districts, that in the event that we do come back, there's some talk that it would be, we would be protected against lawsuits, for example. So if a child we do have children on site and someone contracts it, that they can't come back and sue us, as long as we were adhering to the, the Board of Health guidelines. If we had kids sitting on top of each other, and that's on us. But if we legit did all of the things and recommendations that we were supposed to do, that there would be some protection. So that's just being talked about, introduced. So I don't know where that's going to go, but that was just one other thing I wanted you to know. So we certainly will be having more discussions. I will continue to keep you updated with the progress that we make. Shared with you some notes once before, but now we're starting to, actually our two committees, which is Dr. Johnson and Mr. Zagrebic, have met a few times with each of their committees, and we'll meet together to kind of compare notes, try to put together a solid plan with some recommendations. So we're told, we're told end of June. Don't expect anything until possibly even mid-July from the governor. So who knows how long this is going to go. They're talking about putting a decision tree out. We did learn that from Eric Gordon. We were on a call with him, but he's not allowed to share it because it was it's just a draft. But it sounds like it'll be, looking at things that, if you're able to provide social distancing, if you can adhere to these things, it would be probably like yes, and if so, then for all kids or some kids. And so you'll go through this process, but we don't know the details of it because they're still drafting it. But we're looking forward to that document coming out in the next week. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Questions for Dr. Sullivan?
Yeah. What would be the drop dead date to say when we start? I mean,
So obviously the sooner the better for parents, but well, here's the glitch. We have to go. We have to post it for 30 days. So if tonight we said we want to consider it in 30 days from today, which would be July 4th-ish or whatever it is, then we would vote. So if you do the math on that. But what we did last time when we made a last minute change due to election or something is we gave parents a heads up saying this is being considered by the Board of Education, but basically plan on it. But it has to go through a formal voting process. So parents were planning accordingly. So we let them know in advance that even though it hasn't been officially approved, it is going to the board in 30 days. That's probably how we would handle this.
Something that we should consider, at least start the discussion or give them enough time to. Yeah. How you want to handle that?
Yeah.
So we don't have to vote tonight.
No,
Yeah,
We
we're
just want to
talking.
give
Correct.
the parents a
Yeah.
heads up.
Correct.
Yeah.
Is there a consortium of area superintendents that are kind of like getting on the same page as far as back to school date?
Yeah, that's kind of the first ring. I mean, we're all talking about it across the state, but most concentrated is right here in the first ring. We're all trying to coordinate.
A couple things. Summer school, that's going to be strictly online, I take it.
It is, but being taught, not just go do this assignment. You're going to be face to face with the teacher.
Okay. And while we got James here, how did the returns go?
So as of today, we had right around 1,000 devices checked out to families, which is around a third of the district that got technology from the Bedford City Schools. As of yesterday afternoon, when we stopped our major collection, 770 of those were turned in. An additional 30 to 40 are going to be kept for summer school. We're offering the same ability for students to take technology through summer school. And for anyone who still has a device out, we have a by appointment only option online for them to be able to return that on a schedule.
And the equipment that is still out, those people have been notified as far as their responsibility to get it back to us?
Yes, we've sent notifications, several over the past week.
I happened to stop up here yesterday or day before. I went by about 6 o'clock last night. They were lined up out here, and these guys were jamming. You guys did a great job up there getting all this stuff in, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I would just add, this is actually this is a spoiler alert because this is going in your update tomorrow, in the numbers. But also, very few came back damaged, which was nice. So that was positive. And also, how we're going to handle the students that didn't return it is, we let parents know that we would be withholding the report card. So when they get when the report cards go out, the parents that didn't return it will get a letter that says you're not receiving the report card yet because you haven't turned in the Chromebook. And if they don't, we'll eventually release the grades, but then that fee will go, that cost of that device will go into their fees. So we're hoping not to have to do that.
Thank you.
So you probably need, in the letter also need to put the cost of the, if you do not return.
Yes.
So the parents can get on there.
Good point. Oh yeah, when they see that $250 or $300, whatever it is, I don't know.
Exactly.
That might get their attention.
Yes, it will get their attention.
Did you make note of that, Mr. Meyer? He's the one
I did. We have
doing the letter.
We have a very detailed fees sheet that we can have them attach.
And last but not least for me, you had mentioned a couple dates, September 7th and June 20th. When were we supposed to start school prior to the pandemic?
August 24th.
August 24th. So that's only between August 24th and September 7th is
It's actually
a couple of weeks.
It actually is, right. Wait, let me just
And-
double check. Yeah, let me check my math.
Because I thought it was the 24th as well.
It is, yeah.
But we were supposed to be out at the end of May, I thought. And now you're looking at 20th to 21st. It seems like we added another extra week on the back end of the calendar.
Oh, you know what?
Is that a miscalculation on my part or oversight?
On the notes, this was given to me this afternoon, and I did a quick check of it. What I had in her notes, this is from Colleen does this with Dr. Johnson. The last day was supposed to be 6/14. That's what it had. That's what they had.
For this coming year, prior to was that late in the year? June 14th?
We're starting on the 24th.
Do you have it? Yeah. This is what,
That would make it, if that was
it's
the
late
case.
in the summer.
That was the case, is correct?
that
But
was
remember,
prior
we're
to the
starting back.
pandemic.
Well, so we started earlier in August a lot of times, like
Yeah.
August 12th or something, and now we are going to start later this year, August 24th. That might have something to do with it.
Well, but that, again, August 24th to July, to September 7th is only a couple of weeks.
It's only 8 days.
Yeah, okay,
Because
there you
it's
go.
out for the holidays. The holidays.
Yeah, I'm just,
Yeah.
it wasn't adding up to me.
You're right, it's 8
But
days.
they won't start on the, they will probably
weeks
start
the
on
end
the
of this.
8th,
Right.
because Monday
Right.
is the holiday. The 7th, September the 7th is the holiday.
Yes.
You know what? I know what she did. I'm looking at it right now and I didn't catch this. This is the 21 calendar. It says, this is the 21-22 calendar she gave me.
Oh,
I'm
Well,
so
okay.
sorry. I didn't even notice. She gave this to me this afternoon, and I was counting and looking at it, but I never noticed it was 21. I didn't
I
look at
just,
the.
I did, my only question was,
Do you have it
did we add a week to the school year?
No,
And do
no.
the teachers know it?
I will find that. I'm sorry. I
That's all
didn't
right.
even notice that.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Hey, quick, one last thing, James, do we have a sanitizing, disinfecting process when they bring the units back? Maybe you said that, I don't know.
We were able to provide PPE for our employees. It wasn't medical grade, but we had masks, gloves, hand sanitizer, and then those devices are now sitting, and they will sit for over the weekend. And we also have a very good system. We use a Kenzua product that Mr. John Summers procured for us. That is what Cleveland Clinic uses to sanitize their keyboards at the hospital. He procured that in a 55-gallon drum. We have dozens of spray bottles of that and microfiber cloths. So everything will be completely sanitized and inspected before it touches anyone else's hands.
You were doing that as they were turned in. If I remember, I was watching, I think Sean was wiping it down, spraying anything
For
that came
some
in.
that were visually rough,
Yeah.
we would do that at the time. But
Okay.
the majority that we were opening, making sure that they turned on, making
Right.
sure the screen was working, then we would close them and set them aside.
Thank you.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
just looking at this survey, I just want to commend our teachers. My teachers were available to answer my questions and help. And between strongly agree and agree, we're at 87, 88%, which is fantastic.
Good. Thank you for bringing that up.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
question.
Go ahead.
Dr. Selico,
Yes.
in regards to the summer school, what are you looking at as far as the ratio per teacher? And the reason I'm asking is, it was so hard, especially if this is going to be live. So they're going to be there the entire 2 hours. It was very, very difficult for me as a teacher with all the children on at one time and teaching. I mean, it was a big distraction for some of them because the classes are big.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering what class size are you?
Yeah,
We
we-
don't make this effective, but I just.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. We started out at 1 to 10, and now we've jumped to 1 to 12. We will not exceed that. We're trying not to exceed that. We also want to get it smaller if we can get more teachers. But that's where we sit right now because we don't want to turn students away. So we'll have to see how it goes. But that's where we're at right now.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, can I jump back to the calendar question? Because I finally pulled
I
it up.
found it too. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because, and from what I'm seeing, our last scheduled day of school was June 4th.
So you'd go 10 days past that. So it would be
So
the 14th.
assuming we aren't doing anything
14th.
with our breaks and shortening them up.
Right.
And just simply shifting the beginning days to
Yes.
the end, yeah, you wouldn't get out till June 18th.
Yeah, so it was still
That
close
could
to
be a
that.
little
Yeah.
toasty in the buildings,
Yeah.
but
Well, actually, here's the way I look at that, and I know Mrs. Boynton can probably speak to this, and thank you for that clarification, Janet. Sorry about that. Is I find it hotter in August than I do in June myself. I don't know. I mean, when we started beginning of
It
August,
usually
remember
is.
we've had to call off heat days too,
Yeah,
if you all
that's
recall.
true.
Even into September, we were calling heat days that one year. So I'd rather, personally, I always thought I'd rather go into June a little bit and go back later. But that's me, and I don't know how you feel, Mrs. Boynton, but.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
It is so hot in August. So we bought air conditioning, but.
I was gonna say, I
We bought
don't think you have air
It was a big
conditioning.
day.
though.
We bought air conditioning for every single classroom, but it was very, very hot. It's very hot in August. And
Yeah.
some district goes the first week in August.
Yeah.
And it was just really, it was terrible.
Yeah.
So, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
I know.
Anything else for Dr. Sonico? Okay. All right, well, I think we're at item number 7, where we're going to go into executive session. Once again, thank you for the audience who chimed in this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to be going into executive session, and then after that, we won't have to do any type of voting or anything afterwards, and we're just going to adjourn. So thank you, audience, for those who participated. So at this time, board, can I get a motion to go into executive session, please? Or to read it?
You have to, the reason.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to, oh, I'm sorry. To second Mrs. Patterson's motion to prepare for conduct or review negotiations or bargaining sessions with employees.
Okay, we had a motion, and who did the second?
I did.
Motion by,
One, he read it. He was 2 and he read it.
Oh, okay.
okay, that kind of, okay. Motion by Ms.
I'm so
Patterson,
confused.
second by Mr. Tench.
Good.
Please call the roll.
Aye.
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 Okay, we're going to go into executive session at 6:34.